Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. For those who remember, after 2007 elections that left the country divided, many were maimed, displaced, and even killed, we invited the South African judge Kriegler. And in his report, Kriegler notes that our elections are ever divisive and emotive in nature. And I'm sure many years down the line, there are several of those recommendations that we are yet to touch on. If you want to know that what Kriegler was talking about, to date there are people who have not healed from the 2022 elections, and they believe that that election was rigged, and the man at the center of this fraudulent election was none other than the late Wafula Chebukati. And there are people who have refused to forgive Wafula Chebukati even as he goes to rest with the Lord. Today, the body of Wafula Chebukati arrived in Kitale. And there are people who never wanted to see Wafula as he was passing by. He was being escorted to his home. They were shouting and saying Wafula should go, they should rush and bury him because they never want to hear anything to do with his death. In fact, they are either pissed off or even celebrating his death. Can you take a look?
Chebukati. Enda kabisa, aende. Perekeni huyo mbio. Pereka mbio. Asisimame, pereka mbio. Aende mbio. Chebukati, enda. Aende mbio. Kwenda kabisa. Aende. Enda. Wamuziki asubuhi. Asubuhi. Anapisha mtu kanya. Aende.
We all know that before Wafula died, there were several allegations. Every month we used to hear that Wafula is ill, some were even alleging that Wafula is dead and all that. At the last time before his death, Wafula shared a photo of himself and his mother, and you could easily see that Wafula's health was really deteriorating. But as you can see, Kenyans don't have any sympathy towards Wafula and the family. And if you want to know that they don't have any sympathy, apart from the fact that they were saying that they should bury Wafula Chebukati as fast as possible, there are people who are making some jokes out of it. Look at this.
Ongeza chakula, matanga ni yako ama ni ya Chebukati? Matanga ni yako ama ni ya Chebukati? Niweke chakula. Amuweke nyama. Matanga ni ya Chebukati. Ni yetu sisi Waluya. Matanga ni ya Chebukati. Nasina mkutuwekea kidogo. Chebukati ni wewe. Usiweka nyama waja kunichazia kiukamba. Matanga ni ya Chebukati. Ama ni yenu.
Immediately Wafula passed on, his son came to the podium and he was pleading with Kenyans to allow them mourn their father in peace. Because I know many people look at Wafula Chebukati as the former IEBC chairman who mismanaged our elections. But you see, to the family, that is their father. That could be a husband, it could be a brother, an uncle to someone. And one of his brothers was saying that they really feel very bad when people talk about Wafula Chebukati and this man, and they was calling it character assassination because according to them, Wafula ni mweupe kama pamba. Wafula never mismanaged any elections. Wafula was never corrupt. Wafula procured one of the best elections in the world, and as such they feel people should celebrate Wafula Chebukati, and if you don't want to celebrate him, allow them to mourn him and to bury him in peace.
Kwetu sisi ni uchungu that we've lost him. And especially when you see a lot of character assassination, it hurts us as family because we know the type of person he was. And I really wish to tell Kenyans, myself included, that the man they are crucifying, that person, we are crucifying. We are crucifying that person for the sins he never committed. We are crucifying somebody who is as clean as snow. Huyu jamaa alituonyesha jinsi ya exercise integrity kwa kila kitu. Ilikuwa ukimuuliza kitu kama ni kinyume cha sheria, anasema ni heri ukose kitu lakini uheshimu sheria. So when he got employed by the IPC, some of us saw an opportunity in that employment as family members. Tuko nasema bwana, nisaidie nipate hiki, nisaidie nipate kile, and he kept telling us off. Akasema kazi hii nimepewa kwanza na Mungu, kisha nimepewa na serikali, na hii kazi inahitaji mimi niifanye kwa kufuata sheria.
But as I told you, even though some people don't like him, in his home, he was really escorted after passing, Eldoret, Kitale town, all the way. When he arrived at home, several relatives were waiting for him, and they gave him what we call a befitting escort as he was getting into the home. And I know they will bury him on Saturday. These are how things were as he entered his home. Now, if you ask me, ladies and gentlemen, I am one of those people who believe, and I stand to be corrected, I could be wrong, but I believe that Wafula was in charge of one of the very most fraudulent elections in the world. Not only once, but even twice, because in all the election events, we could easily see that some of his very colleagues had to fly outside the country seeking asylum for fear of their life. We could talk of AKWENDE, Herrera, and Irene Masit. This simply tells you that those elections were never clean and honest. And even to make it worse, in some of those, there were post-election violence. People had to go to the streets. They all ended up in the courts. So personally, I believe that Wafula Chebukati presided over a very dishonest process, and it was at the center. But you see, in the African culture, we don't follow people with a lot of anger once they have rested, because he's gone. And therefore, I feel that with all the anger, and I understand that we are in the problem, we are facing all the problems today with Kasongo because of Wafula Chebukati. And as I said, many of us feel the same. With all the taxes and abductions and Kasongo at the center telling us how stupid we are when we don't want to listen to him, I believe that Wafula Chebukati is a culprit. But now he's gone, and we need to let him rest in peace. As the family says, let us allow the family mourn in peace and give him a befitting send-off. You remember the other day, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, was telling us that we should attend that funeral. Since when did you start begging people to come for a funeral? If someone is good, his deeds will follow him, and people will automatically come to see him off. That happens every now and then in our communities, in our societies. If someone is good, when he rests, you'll realize that he had touched many people, and that will follow him. People will come to mourn him, talk good of him. You don't start begging people to come, to bury him. To the family, they should ignore certain sentiments, because there are people who are really touched directly by Wafula Chebukati, but in a very negative way. There are people who have lost their jobs, and they feel maybe if Chebukati had not announced William Ruto as the president, things would be different. Politics, as we started, is a very emotive, process, very divisive. People are divided, and we should be very deliberate about getting united even after elections, because there is life after elections. So I feel that we need to just forget him and look at the future. Currently, instead of thinking about Wafula Chebukati and what he did to us, we should use that to help us, make even this process a tight one. Currently we don't have IEBC commissioners. So instead of trying to engross ourselves so much about Wafula and what he did to us, let us learn and ensure that we pile pressure on William Ruto to have the most credible team that will foresee our elections in 2027, because we've learned, we now know the loopholes that was there. For example, what happens when the commissions are divided into two, like it was during the Cherera 4 and Chebukati and these two, two colleagues. Those are the things that we should be looking at. Number two, the two protagonists, right, William Ruto and Raila Amolo Odinga, are now working together. Some of their supporters have decided to bury the hatchet. Some are saying that we are being forced into working with William Ruto, yet we don't want. But if the two are now working together, then in the same spirit, we should forgive Wafula Chebukati. Because what is the need of fighting? I always tell you that politics usiweke kwa roho. Today mnalimana, unapiga mwenzako, kesho kuna handshake. Kulikuwa na hiyo handshake wakati wa Moi, wakati wa Kibaki, wakati wa Uhuru Kenyatta. And even the man who said that yeye ni mtoto wa Mau Mau, he cannot have any conversation about nusu mkate. He said hii serikali ni ya mahasla. Now the hustler's government is the one that has turned out to be ya mabwenyenye. William Ruto has gone for Raila, he has gone for Uhuru Kenyatta. So let us embrace peace. And even as I say that we embrace peace, I'm not saying that Wafula is clean. I'm telling you, I'm one person who believes that Wafula Chebukati should have been given a chance to preside over our elections. But now that he's gone, I just feel that it's no use trying to be bitter because he's gone. But it turns out that is not the only problem that people are heckling Wafula Chebukati even on his way to his grave. Natembeya is warning that there is going to be trouble if some people, especially, is referring to Papa Waroma, who seems to be planning to take over with these people, to take over and come and intimidate, people in that funeral, because there is a kind of supremacy battle between George Natembeya, the Trans Nzoia governor, and the National Assembly Senator Moses Wetangula. There is that supremacy battle because Natembeya feels that a good dancer knows when to leave the stage. He feels that people like Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi, who's the Prime Cabinet Secretary, have been there since time immemorial, but they are not speaking on behalf of the lawyers. Natembeya claims that these people simply go there and they negotiate for their tumbocracy. That's how Kenyans call it. And as a result of that, there is a very big line between Wetangula and Mudavadi's political ideology and that of Natembeya. You saw it. You saw what happened during that funeral of was it Natembeya's father or mother? And Kimani Chunga was, Kimani Chunga is now a goon for hire. He was hired to go and read a riot act to Natembeya, and he did it. Just the other day in Malava, there are people who tried to block Natembeya. But Natembeya is saying that this funeral is being conducted in Trans Nzoia, and I am the governor. I'm in charge, politically speaking, in Trans Nzoia. So some people cannot come with goons and they wanataka kuonyesha maarufu kwa matanga. And he's warning. Here's what is happening.
Mambo mingi, sisi Jumamosi tutakuwa na wageni hapa wanakuja kusika Wafula Chebukati. Hapa. Umeleta mambo mingi, watu wamemobilize, sio kuja utukane na Natembeya, sio. Hadi wanataka kuja kuonyesha ubabe wao Trans Nzoia wakati wa mazishi. Sisi Trans Nzoia watu pigani kwa matanga. Hata wakati mnaona kuna fujo kwa matanga, mkiangalia kuna watu wametoka sehemu nyingine wamekuja hapa kwetu. Wakati naomboleza hizi peke yetu, mnaona kuna fujo hapa kweli? Sasa tunaambia hawa watu, hii Trans Nzoia iko na its own leadership, and we said we're not an appendage of any other county in this republic. Tuko na one national government, tuko na 47 governments. Hii yangu inaitwa Trans Nzoia. Ukikuja Trans Nzoia kujako na heshima. Maana heshima sio utumwa, si ndio? Kuja angalia watu wa Trans Nzoia wanakaa namna gani. Kaa hivyo. Iko tu chama moja Kenya hii wakienda matanga wanavaa uniform ya chama. Because they confuse matanga na political rallies. Sasa mtu anaongea wamekaa hapo katikati na green t-shirts sio guys, not you guys. Wanashangilia na kupiga makofi na kushangilia. Hiyo maneno hatutaki. So on Saturday watu wakuje kwa wingi tumzike Chebukati.
It is now becoming very notorious in Luhya land. The other day you saw Rashid Echesa and the Kakamega governor with their goons trying to outdo each other at a funeral. And we want to pray that we are not going to export such shame to Trans Nzoia, because there are families who are mourning. You cannot export your goonism and you go and take your differences, political differences, into someone's funeral. Please, as Natembeya is saying, Wetangula and the group and the team must, accept that this is a funeral that is being conducted in Trans Nzoia, and they should allow Natembeya to be in charge. I don't know what you think, ladies and gentlemen, but I pray that we allow the family to mourn and bury their loved one.